So at this point, we will turn to our Q&A portion of the discussion. And as a moderator, I will just to begin and start discussion, I'll ask one question to our speakers. So for Minister Park, so thinking about digital democracy, not just in South Korea, but the potential applications for worldwide, as you succinctly discussed, it seems to me that there is a paradox in AI technologies in the public sector. That is to say, the digital platform that's designed to capture all public opinion, the whole population, as you said, and so create perfect transparency, can ironically often lead to opacity, right? So what do you see as the major challenges for safeguarding the public from the potential misuse of AI technologies?
Yeah, this is a very important question, but very complicated. So
Apologies.
from now on, translate to Korean. Yeah. I think there are 5 AI ethical principles. First one is transparency. Transparency must have to how make the algorithm and then system and then everybody understand. The second one is safety.
You're supposed to speak in Korean now. It's really hard to switch back and forth.
safety, 안전의 문제는 인간들한테 위협을 느끼지 않도록 하는 그런 장치가 필요하다.
The second one is about the safety. It is to make people feel that they are safe.
Yeah. The third one is a responsibility. 그러니까 책임감. 이 책임감의 문제는 AI가 오류를 범하거나 아니면 뭔가 수정을 해야 될 때 그런 데 대해서 책임을 질 수 있어야 된다.
The third one is responsibility. So when AI makes mistakes or problems, it has to be responsible for its mistakes.
The fourth one is fairness. 이 fairness는 인간들이 편견을 갖거나 아니면 차별을 하거나 성별에 대해서 구별을 짓거나 하는 이런 부분에 있어서 AI가 이 부분을 하면 안 된다.
So the fourth one is about fairness. So there could be some bias or discrimination. So we should be sure that AI won't do this discrimination and also bias.
Last one is goodwill. 그러니까 우리가 AI를 이렇게 기술을 개발하는 것은 결국은 인간 사회를 개선시키기 위한 그런 선의를 가지고 해야 된다는 5가지의 원칙이 필요합니다.
The last one is the goodwill. AI has to contribute to the goodness of the human society for the development of human society.
그러나 역사적으로 봤을 때 인간은 늘 그 편리함과 신속함이 이런 어떤 기술의 발전에 의한 단점을 앞서갔습니다. 극복해왔습니다.
In human history, convenience and speed outpace shortcomings of technological development.
1, 2차 산업혁명 당시에는 기계의 자동화가 인간의 근육을 대신했습니다.
For example, in the first and second industrial revolution, automation of machinery which replaced human muscles.
그래서 인간에게 노동의 자유가 만들어졌고 또 여성 해방이라는 역사적인 일을 만들 수 있었습니다.
So it enabled freedom from labor and female liberation.
인터넷이 나타났을 때도 여러 가지 윤리적인 문제들이 제기됐었습니다.
Also, after the advent of the internet, ethical problems continued.
그러나 지금 우리는 그러한 많은 단점에도 불구하고 이제는 인간의 근육이 아닌 인간의 두뇌를 대신하는 인공지능 시대로 빨려 들어가고 있습니다.
However, we are entering the era of artificial intelligence which substitutes human brain rather than human muscle.
그래서 기술의 발전을 도외시하면 늘 기술의 발전과 함께 권력의 이동이 시작이 됐습니다.
So if we ignore the development of technology, the problems raised, and for example, the problem of power transition.
그래서 이 기술의 발전과 함께 항상 패권 국가가 바뀌어 왔습니다.
So with this technological development, hegemon changed throughout the human history.
한 가지 예를 들면 자동차 산업은 영국에서 시작이 됐지만 영국이 자동차를 마차보다 빨리 가지 못하게 하는 붉은 깃발법을 만들면서 자동차 산업이 미국으로 넘어왔습니다.
So the car industry started in the UK, but UK came up with the Red Flag Act, so that the hegemon of this automatic industry moved to US.
그 얘기를 해줘야 되는데 그 마차보다 빨리 못.
Yeah, okay. Because it was a speed was a problem. It was slower than the wagon.
Yeah, that's a important point.
Underline.
Yeah. 그래서 우리는 이 기술의 발달을 갖다가 항상 그 인간의 존엄성을 지키는 방향으로 정부와 기업과 전문가와 학자가 모두 모여서 이것을 우리가 함께 긍정적인 방향으로 생각해야 된다라고 생각하고 있습니다.
Therefore, ethical issues have to be overcome with the collaborative efforts from the government, academics, experts, and companies while maintaining human dignity.
Enough?
Thank you so much for that comprehensive answer to a very complex question. So the next one to Will, I will promise to make it less complex. I have one question just to start us off. What are your thoughts around transparency about the not only your company system that you develop, but just AI systems and data and kind of this code, right? Around should the information be made available for algorithmic accountability, and what would that look like, right? In the future. And where do you see as the major barriers?
Yeah, so the easiest approach to ensure the transparency is just providing the raw data to everyone, and that's one way to ensure the transparency. But at the same time, it's really it's not really effective way because everyone has to look at the data and then dissect it by themselves. So for some people, it's really useful, but so that's why we actually do data visualization in so many different ways. We can dissect the data by political stance, like the political tribes, or the age group, or the geolocation, so that we can find out why this a conclusion was drawn, and then based on what statistics this AI is thinking. Or it's not just about AI, but even for the data itself, data politics, and how we actually draw conclusions based on statistics. Yeah, these dissecting the data and then make different visualizations is really important.
Thank you. So at this point, I will turn it to the audience, and we'll take. Please state who you are and ask your question in a succinct manner. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for a very insightful presentation. So I'm Atsushi, currently a student at Harvard Kennedy School. And I have a question to Minister Park about the Japan-Korea bilateral relationship, although this is a little bit specific point. So under the current Yoon administration of Korea, the bilateral relationship has been improving rapidly. And in relation to that, I'd like to know your thoughts about how Japan and Korea could develop a stable tie in the long term as key partners to maintain and further promote democracy in Asia. So what are the current and future challenges and how could we overcome it, considering domestic politics in both countries and emerging technologies you talked about? Thank you.
원래 가까운 나라가 이렇게 친하게 지내기가 참 쉽지 않습니다.
So normally it's very hard to get good relations with the neighbor countries.
그런데 지금은 그 한미일 삼국의 그 굉장한 어떤 그 연대가 중요한 시기로 다가오고 있습니다.
So I think that the solidarity between U.S., Korea, and Japan is very important.
그래서 저는 한일 간의 어떤 관계와 관련해서는 민간이 중심이 되지만 정부도 함께하고 학자들도 함께하는 독러 대화와 같은 그런 기구가 필요하다라고 생각하고 있습니다.
So I think that in the Korean-Japan relations, I think the private sector should be the center, but also the government and academics would also be in the part of this relations.
독일과 러시아는 동러 대화라는 어떤 공식 기구를 가지고 매년 여러 가지 그 문제들을 서로 대화를 나누는데 앞으로 한일 관계에서도 그런 것이 필요하지 않을까 그렇게 생각합니다.
For example, Germany and Russia has annual German-Russian dialogue. So I think that for Korea, we could also make a Korea-Japan dialogue.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your insights, Minister Park and Will. My name is Sun Kim. I'm a PhD student here at Harvard. From both of your presentations, it seemed pretty promising to utilize artificial intelligence in politics, particularly in collecting public opinion data and increasing citizen engagement. But AI poses also a serious concern on spread of very highly convincing mis and disinformation. So I would like to hear both of your views on how to control or combat this spread of disinformation or even miscollecting the noise data. Thank you.
So about the misinformation, so there's like a, the hallucination effect that ChatGPT like blatantly lies with and shamelessly makes some misinformation and then deliver them to users. And the technical way to overcome it is actually providing the exact statistics to ChatGPT when I prompt it. So ChatGPT is like trained with like a crazy amount of data, but it doesn't necessarily like use like specific statistics or specific research to draw its conclusion. So how we do it is like, we have statistics that's like collected on our app, and also there are many like research results and then statistics outside of the project's app. So we bring the data into the prompt and then ask ChatGPT based on this information, what's your like a summary for what your, so we don't even like ask its like opinion, but to summarize it and then present it in a nice way so that people can understand better. And also we make sure that like what statistics its like summary is based on. So we always like refer to the original document. And that's how we like overcome this like hallucination effect.
Thank you for a very insightful, presentation from both. So I'm Ken from Japan. Actually, I was serving as a diplomat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Japan in the division that in charge of relations between Japan and the Republic of Korea. So I know there's there's a very difficult time to build a relationship within the neighboring country as well. But this is a little bit different from that perspective. I wanted to ask a question to Mr. Will, the CEO of the Office of Politics. So if my understanding is right, following the idea of delegated democracy, we will be able to decide on representatives to whom we delegate our views in different policy areas, and the will of the people will be more accurately reflected in the running of the country. But What about this example? Taking Japanese politics as an example, let's say that making the decision on defense policy, the majority of public wants to increase defense spending and improve national defense. And this is decided by the representatives as national policy, for example. At the same time, when making the decision on social security policy, the majority of the public also wants to increase social security spending because they do not want to be poor in the old age. And this is also decided as a national policy by the Diet. Then what about the problem of the totally inadequate budget? These two policies are really compatible. It's also very difficult to make it compatible and require last-minute budget adjustment. But if liquid democracy is used, wouldn't the government cease to function because all policy decisions would be based on idealism from the general public? So they wanted to do that. All the others, they wanted to do that. So these can be kind of friction. So how do you solve this issue by using the AI, for example? How do you manage the kind of conflict between the people's, demand in different topics?
I actually don't think it's about AI, and AI it's something that AI can solve, because it's about like, are you gonna listen to the president's choice or the people's choice? It's like the president can make a really unpopular decisions, and maybe he believes it's for the future of the nation, and maybe he's right or maybe he's wrong. But the principle of democracy is like following people's ideas, and yeah, it's more about like political philosophy. So yeah, you can eventually choose. It's just working at the same as current, how the democracy works currently, right? You can choose to listen to like public opinion, or you can choose to listen to like some powerful person who believes this is the right future. And yeah, so I don't think AI can solve this, because humans should still have power in choosing what direction and who to listen to.
Actually, just to follow up, because I think this is a really important point, and to differentiate what AI is doing and what is up to the once after the delegation of the data that's presented, right, through this vehicle. So I think one sort of difference that in political scientists look at in terms of public opinion and partisan affiliation is the difference between what is the entire whole public opinion in terms of left-right, traditional left-right ideology, as you say, philosophy. What does that look like in a polity versus the elites, let's call them leaders, right, and or the partisan affiliated individuals, which are often the interest groups or whoever else is sort of in those camps that advocate for certain policy positions, right? So I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're trying to do is find out what the whole public opinion is, regardless of their partisan identity, which often pits, right, parties. In this case, there are two large parties in Korea, in part because of the electoral system.
Yes.
So is that kind of what you're trying to do?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is like it's beyond the AI. It's like it's the human area, and it's a matter of like, do we want to follow smart people? Do we want to follow powerful people? Do we want to follow the public opinion?
Hi, mine will be very quick and short. My name is Moon Han. I'm teaching economics at Western University. I was very impressed by both of your presentation. It was so thoughtful, and I learned a lot. Thank you. My question is, what can humans do in the future? Like, she's gonna be a sooner or later PhD student. Is gonna be a professor later. I am. Okay, thanks God, I'm a professor. 10 years later, do we need any professors, researchers, like what human can do? In my rough imagination, politicians, we don't need it. We don't need them. Okay, what we need is maybe cook. We need janitors. We need to cook. Because they know how to make a great food. AI knows how to combine great Scotch whiskey and everything. What we can do is just serving as a bartender. What can we do? That's my question. In the future, what can humans do?
It's a very important question. 그런데 그렇게 우리가 지금 상상하지만 실제로 일은 그렇게 되지 않는다고 생각합니다.
So we might imagine that that might happen, but actually I think it won't happen like that.
제가 중소벤처기업부 장관을 하면서 스마트 팩토리를 굉장히 많이 만들었습니다.
So when I was working as a minister for SMEs and startups, I made a lot of smart factories.
스마트 팩토리. 그런데 스마트 팩토리를 만들게 되면 모든 사람들이 일자리를 잃을 거라고 반대하는 사람들도 상당히 많이 있었습니다.
So there were a lot of objections that if we make smart factories, a lot of people will lose their jobs.
그러나 실질적으로 결과는 그렇게 일어나지 않았습니다.
But in reality, it didn't happen. People didn't lose their jobs.
왜냐하면 최종적인 점검을 하는 사람은 결국은 인간이기 때문입니다.
It's because it is the human who does the final verification, final confirmation.
대신 인간은 예를 들어서 이 컵의 뚜껑이 제대로 잘 만들어졌는지 안 만들어졌는지를 스마트 팩토리가 만들어지기 전에는 인간이 제대로 확인할 수 없습니다.
So before the smart factory, for example, this bottle cap, people couldn't see it's exactly made perfect fit or not.
그런데 그래서 인간이 이것이 정확하게 만들어졌는지를 검증하는데 많은 시간을 투자해야 했었습니다.
So people had to put a lot of times to verify that it perfectly fits the bottle.
그러나 스마트 팩토리가 만들어진 다음에는 이 점검을 AI가 하기 때문에 인간이 많은 시간을 절약할 수 있게 됐습니다.
So people could save a lot of time because the AI verifies this size of this cap. So it gave a lot of time for the people.
대신 그러면 인간은 무엇을 하느냐? 인간은 그 시간에 이것이 최종적으로 잘 됐는지를 점검하면서 very short time에 점검하면서
So what people do in a very short time, people do the final review and final confirmation that works.
노동 시간이 줄어들면서 또 더 우리가 즐길 수 있는 다른 일을 하게 되고 생산성은 더 많이 올라가기 때문에 기업의 입장에서는 오히려 스마트 팩토리를 만들면서 사람을 해고시키지 않아도 되는 결과를 갖고 오는 것입니다.
So at the same time, the people in the workforce could do some creative or constructive works. So the company employer doesn't have to fire people.
정치도 마찬가지입니다. 정치인이 필요 없다? 그렇지 않을 것이라고 저는 생각합니다.
So in politics is the same. I don't think that in the future politician would be not needed.
예를 들면 지금 그 여론조사를 통해서 클러스터링을 하는데 과거에 이런 챗 GPT가 나오기 전에는 이 클러스터링을 하는데 굉장히 많은 시간이 필요했습니다. 한 적어도 이틀 정도의 시간이 필요했습니다.
So before when serving the opinion poll, it took like at least 2 days to cluster.
클러스터링.
Cluster.
그러나 지금 챗 GPT가 나와서 이것을 1분에 해결합니다.
So Chat GPT can do it in 1 minute.
그러면 나는 약 이틀이라는 시간을 내가 벌 수 있게 되는 것입니다.
So I can save 2 days.
그럼 그 이틀 동안 나는 뭘 하느냐? 다른 일을 또 생각하는 것입니다.
So with the save 2 days, I can do other creative things.
그래서 계속해서 시스템이 발전해 나간다고 저는 그렇게 믿고 있습니다.
So I think that like this, the system will evolve.
Yeah, I can add to it. As an entrepreneur and the CEO of my company, so these we have 3 content writers, and their job was to write contents and summarize the news articles and read all the news articles. And now it's automated. And what do? We fire them, we let them go, and it's really tempting. but actually at the same time, if we let them go, we're just staying at 1x performance, right? We are not improving in performance. company-wide. But if we keep them and then let them do like some other stuff, then we are actually like we are improving the performance of my company to like 3x, 10x, right? So that's what we want to see, and eventually, like like when my company goes 10x, my like competing company will want to go 11x, right, or 12x, or like 20x. So it's the nature of capitalism that we want to when other companies improve their performance, we don't want to stay at like 1x performance and fire all the people, but we want to actually make multiply our performance. So I think eventually the development of technology and AI will make our like economical growth and then technological growth really fast, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna like fire most of people.
Just a quick question, because I was just curious to follow up on the current discussion, because it was more questioning on the use of AI. But I'm more curious about the concerns we might have with the input, the data input. And like right now, we are having a lot of concerns all over the world regarding disinformation. So I'm curious, like both from the policy perspective as well as a startup, how do you think about mitigating the danger of disinformation, especially if we are using AI to eventually have less hands-on in the process of evaluating whether the data is correct or not, and now using ChatGPT, for example, to run the entire process for us and give us a clean visualization of what might not be the truth of what the public wants if there's a lot of disinformation campaign going on.
So I actually do think it's kind of like a myth right now that AI cannot deliver the true information. It's only because like AI is trained on so much data, like, as I mentioned before, and then all the like, data is all mixed up in its brain, its AI brain, and it doesn't really know like, what it got the idea from. But when you actually transparently make provide the like underlying data, and then make its job be based on that specific data set, then it won't lie actually. It's not like when there's data it can actually make up like other things, but it's like human. Like when we actually don't have the data in front of us, and then when you're asked to make some judgment out of blue, then you may actually lie. You may you may actually recall like some wrong information from like 10 years ago, and then just speak with it, and then it's not that different from that. So the solution again is have the concrete data and like really like verified data, and then feed the verified data to it, and then it won't lie, and then it won't actually create misinformation. And that's what I can tell from my experience.
Thank you very much. One of the things I love about these events is that you can always tell if it's been a good event by the streaming of questions that are going to go over time. So thank you all very much. I want to thank you for making the time this afternoon to come. Obviously, much thanks to our speakers and interpreter as well. And most importantly, I would like to thank my colleagues at the Ashland, Laura, Melissa, Sarah, Danielle, Gina, many for making this event so wonderful and a great learning process for us. Thank you very much.